Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. So this one is going to be where we're going to question and maybe even answer, is GBO2 or Gundam Battle Operation 2 worth playing in 2025? Because I stopped playing it for not really a year, just because I played it so much I have to break it, but I'm wanting to get back in. They made some updates that are coming out this year I'm excited about, and I've brought Talos Mobius, resident professional GBO2 player. What's up, Talos?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Adam? I'm glad to be here.
No, yeah, I appreciate you being here too, because I could be making these videos, but I feel like it's better for the audience or the viewers to have your takes as well, just because you're way more involved, engrossed in GBO2 and everything. And but yeah, I think what kind of got me interested in playing again was that announcement of a 750 cost, which I feel like we've always joked would be the future of GBO2. Like, they would just raise the cost more, and we're like, oh, would they really do that? And then they kind of have, and they continue to. So what's your take on the 750 cost?
I think it was necessary at this point. GBO2 is not stopping. It's a currently full momentum train that is moving forward, surprisingly so, especially since the game is reaching its 7th year anniversary this summer.
Yeah,
or winter, depending on which part of the globe you're on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But during August, we're going to be reaching the 7th anniversary. And at this point, since we've already taken care of we've reached Hathaway's Plus and we've well surpassed it. We've been touching Advance of Zeta, and suddenly this week we got the RF Zaku, which brings us in UC 120, meaning slightly before F91. There is no way that we could have kept the units like the F91, which are smaller, faster, and more compact firepower within the same cost range as the behemoths that are like C, Penelope, Sazabi, Nightingale. You get it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
I think it is important.
Yeah, because it's crazy to think that and I remember, it's funny, saying that it's been 7 years, because when I first played it, it was when I first got into Gundam, and I was like, oh, is there a Gundam game out there? And they're like, yeah, there's this free one in Japan, and so I used my Japanese account to download it and play it, but then it came out in North America, and then I've been playing it. So, and that's the thing, it's interesting how popular this still is, because it's, free to play for those that are curious. It has a lot of content, and it gives you a lot of stuff for free, even if it's not exactly what you want. So that's something to keep in mind. But also, then it got a PC release. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, because when I jump on PC, sometimes it's harder to find a match. Is it just more people are playing it on PlayStation because they've had their game for so long?
I think that's the case. A lot of people also supposedly don't want to play because they don't want to see the AU units, which I think that it's a very bad way of it's a very bad optic on the game if you latch on the fact that there are a few AU units in a mostly UC populated game. I hear a lot of arguments from even amongst our communities that a constant back and forth, which is unnecessary. I think it's a random unnecessary divide, but I think the majority is also a lot of PC had a very rough release, a very rough launch of the game. And I think that kind of pushed a lot of people away, and a lot of people probably at this point that liked the game enough probably moved to console, because the console population has remained high, whereas the PC population just has a stable about 2,000 people from what I am aware.
Okay, so that brings up a good question. If someone was to get into GBO2 right now, would you recommend PlayStation over PC?
In terms of what I would suggest, it really wouldn't matter. It's whichever you're comfortable with.
Oh,
both of them have their issues, but both of them have built a lot of the issues. I think the majority that PC is struggling with is just the variety of people and the varying internet connections and all of that, because it's a peer-to-peer game. And while console will be a lot more stable because you have across the board the same hardware.
Yeah.
PC will have a bit of a harder issue. You'll face disconnection in both of them, or you will not. I got lucky after I fixed my connection through a port forwarding. I never had a disconnect issue, neither on PC nor on console, so it's really just getting used to the controls of PC unless you connect controller. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same experience. a slightly different meta because console GBO2 is 2 months ahead.
Right.
So unless someone wants to be completely up to date but without the AE units, you get the console release. If you don't mind being a bit behind getting random AE units from time to time, then you have the obvious PC release. So
Okay.
I'd say go with whichever you want. You want to play with the Freedom and the God and maybe in the future something else? Go for it. Speaking of, actually GBO2 even has a survey up right now for console if the console players even want AU units for the third time they're asking us.
Oh, okay.
This.
How long is that survey running for?
I know until I think the end of the month.
Okay, so I'll post it in the link in this video. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that survey, check that out. And so I think, from what I gather from what you say, and actually it kind of reflects how I play, is I use PlayStation as my primary account for GBO2, but I do play on Steam occasionally, and it actually is nice to have that option. It is nice sometimes maybe you didn't get what you wanted on the PlayStation, you go roll on Steam, and then you might get something interesting. So I think there's nothing to lose really by playing on both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get also 2 accounts, which means that you get rerolls. Okay, you get the different ones for different suits.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So I want to ask, in your opinion, in 2025, compared to when the game first came out, or maybe a few years ago, what are some major or main differences that you get out of playing it nowadays? I think, and I'll start to give you my example, is for me, I feel like they come out with new suits that end up having some very unique skills that not only are kind of lore accurate, but also make it a play style in a way for that unit.
That is very correct. The mobile suits have been trying to be a lot more distinct from each other than they were on release. It's even more difficult now to retain an identity per mobile suit because there are so many units now. But because keep in mind, we're reaching 500 mobile suits if we haven't already surpassed it. But the major differences from then to now is also the game has gotten a lot more fast-paced, even at lower costs. The game has gone from a very slow, almost clunky feel to when you play anything above 600, the units are flexible, agile, and there is such a wide variety of mobile suits and in turn, obviously, characters, to put it like that, for those that don't know what a mobile suit is, which I doubt it, we're in Gundam Explained.
Yeah.
But it's unique. It's a very unique game, and it has retained at least that identity, even with a change of pace and the variety of maps and new units.
Yeah, because I do think some of the complaints that came out when, like, in the game first came out, for instance, was, oh, this is kind of slow, and I kind of get that. Like, that's kind of its purpose, and either you understand that and you're cool with it. Like, for me, it just feels like I'm in a mech. It's why I like the Godzilla PlayStation game, because you're slow, and the controls are made for that, and so... But I do think there's been this kind of cool, change where it seems like there's a lot more faster paced stuff that can go on in the game, but it also makes sense because those types of units are typically faster in the lore anyway because of, the technology used for the mobile suits, a lot of space combat, as well, kind of leads them to be faster. So yeah, that's something I never really thought of, but I wonder if that is another way to get more people interested in playing, is because it could be a little more fast-paced.
That is correct, and not only is it a bit more fast-paced, but a lot of people can now partake in the game a bit easier, especially with a lot of fixes. It's a weekly update game. While there are major updates at the end of the month, every month, along with the major mobile suit release at the end of the month, like the 4 stars and now 5 stars, due to it constantly being updated every week, there is no worries really about bugs. A bug pops up, next week it's fixed. Usually you have to wait a few months for most games.
Yeah, that is actually pretty amazing if we think about live service games in general. Not only has this been around for 7 years, but they have weekly updates. And there's always new suits coming out. So again, for someone that is considering jump back into this game again, it's a lot more fast-paced than it was before, especially on the higher costs. And with all the suits you could choose from that, they have like different abilities too, where it can be like a different play style for you. So yeah, I think there's a lot going on with the game, yeah, to keep it fresh. Well, and here's something I want to bring up. My favorite thing they added in, I think it's called Situation Battle, where it's based on the lore, the story, where you're put into a mobile suit. You don't get to choose it.
That is correct. That is the fun type, because you don't know what you're getting in.
Right, and you could recreate a battle. There's one I was just playing recently where I think I was just a grunt suit. I forgot what map it was. It was last weekend, but I saw Amuro and Char fighting each other, and like I was just around them fighting others while they were doing the battles. Obviously, those were other players.
Oh, yeah, the Battle of Q.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so that's what's cool about that, is that you can be just a grunt and you're fighting, but then you see Amuro and Char are fighting too. It's other players that got a chance to do that, and it kind of adds to the experience. For me, that leans more into what I like to get out of a game like GBO2, is that sort of experience of being in a Gundam world. And I think yeah, it was, they had a situation battle. I think that was in Jaburo, the underground base, and Char had the Zagak. I had the RX-78 too. And I remember one time I started, I was the RX-78 too. I was like, oh my god. It reminds me of Battlefront, when you get to finally be a Jedi or a hero or whatever. But I got the RX-78 too, and then Char Sagat came up, and I got to fight him, and I was like, whoa, I'm recreating this stuff. And that's what I like from this game. And have you heard any news about them expanding on situation battles in any way?
We don't really have any news on that matter. There have been a lot of questionnaires about what we'd like to see more in GBO2, and that's really about it. They really ask how you like things, and if you'd like to see specific suggestions that they pop up. So they have mentioned quite a few things in questionnaires, maybe more PvE oriented things, more game modes. I don't really have any news on that matter, because there is no official news on that front. They've actually started being at least a bit more front with their updates recently. So they communicate a bit more with the community, which is a big deal. And I think that's a step in the right direction, which is really funny to say 6 years in a game.
Well, yeah. I mean, but also it's because it's gone so far in that it's like, at this point, we might as well really ask what the people want, so we can just keep going. Because really, this game could shut down, but it's just, it just keeps going. You brought up PvE. So another part of GBO2 I like is that it does have those simulator battles. I forget what it's called, where yeah, you could just do, and you can usually pick 3, and it's a scenario. I wish that would be like a persistent thing, where you go in and there's a whole playlist of all these PvE battles that you can do with your friends, because I would be doing that all the time.
And I'd like to see personally like a persistent survival, where you have to keep fighting until you run out of either a response or a team health, I guess you could call it.
Oh, yeah.
So the higher cost of a mobile suit you're going, the more it affects your team, but the lower the cost
the Versus series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine that you're fighting, let's just say, in the Battle of Odessa, and you have like 1 million of Zakus and Goofs. Not literally 1 million, like you have 6 to 12 spawning at a time.
Yeah.
And your team has to keep defeating them. And even better if it gave you rewards on that matter. I think that a lot of people would be brought in just over the idea of PvE, because not everyone wants to play a PvP game. Games like Black Myth Wukong and Helldivers 2 have proved that people want to enjoy playing with either on their own or with friends, and just going against other things.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of fun to let off some steam.
No, exactly, because I think even though I love to go online and be competitive doing it, sometimes I don't really care about the competitive side of GBO2. For me, it's like I talked about, for the experience of being in the Gundam world. And so, yeah, having those PvE battles, and that's why I like the situation battle, but it's with other players, and that's fine. But yeah, doing that PvE, I think, would add more life to the game. Yeah, and if they had some sort of persistence, where you can at least gain experience, even though it's very little that you get for mobile suits, if maybe they add that, or something. Because I think that's a very important part of games nowadays, whether they're if they're multiplayer, is to have some sort of, and not that it has to be a single player thing, but so more of an environmental PvE thing. The Starship Troopers Extermination game that came out, that's pretty fun. It actually even has its own sort of like single player, okay, just go through this. And it's basic stuff, but it helps not only if you just want to get, you just want to play the game and get a feel for the game and not have to really worry about competing online, but also get an understanding of maybe how to maximize your response time when playing the game. I'll do that a lot with games. Black Myth Wukong is a good example. I was just talking about this the other day where I would stay in one area for a little bit and just go around, refresh, kill the enemies, go around, just so I can like, okay, can I take out these enemies without getting hit? But I'm also gaining experience, and then as I move on, I get better. Yeah.
Kind of like I do with GBO2. My whole recent funny haha thing that I do just for my own fun and to get better is try to complete the battle sims as quickly as possible. If I can hit on the mobile armors under 30 seconds, that's a win for me.
Ah, okay. So that's cool because the PvE, I guess PvE, but those simulation battles, it's like the 3 you can choose from. They all have the time that you get to, get rewards. So you try to go back and beat your times. And I guess that's a good way to look at it. Okay. What I want to get to also is, so this year they're adding the 750 cost. Did they already do that? Or is
they're adding it at the end of the month.
At the end of the month.
On the 30th of January should be the last update of the month, and that should be when 750 will be added. And those that will start playing around that time will get a free level 4 Zeta Gundam, which is really nice.
So a level 4 Zeta Gundam, which I guess they're considering 750 cost.
Yeah, that's correct.
I also heard there's going to be a Awakened Unicorn.
The Awakened Unicorn is already in the game, has been since last month. Well, sorry, technically this month, since the 1st of the year, specify.
But that's not 750.
No, that's a 700. Now, I'm speculating that we might get a Perfectability Divine Unicorn, and that's the 750. That's my speculation. Call it just a theory.
That's a good one. What are some other things? I mean, like F91.
Of course.
Would be amazing. In the Vignagina, I think that's called, the counterpart. Even those crossbone Vanguard suits.
Yeah, the crossbones themselves would be certainly easily a 750. Small, fast, compact. When I say compact, like the X1 had the Zunbuster rifle, which had so many variations. It even had a small atomic grenade on it. So.
Okay, that's a good point. Because speaking of crossbone variations, there's so much when it comes to the crossbones that they could continue to add. So, okay. So let's think about that. We have F91 coming up, or in terms of like time frame, F91, Victory, Crossbone, G Savior. We could even get what is it? Gimp?
Yeah, the Gump.
A Gump? Oh, is that okay? Gump? Yeah, Judo's like hit bashed double Zeta.
The Gump. Oh, that'd be funny. Although I thought it would be a 750, but I'd love to see that thing.
So it is crazy to think what I mean. For me, like I love the design of the Victory Gundam, and it's interesting because I don't think we get that much representation for late UC in video games. I mean, we kind of do like in a Versus series, or maybe it's a suit you unlock later, SD Gundam Battle Lines, but like in GBO2 or like, most games, it's not like the F91 is stand out there, but in GBO2, because they're so lore accurate with the suits, that makes it exciting to have an F91 to see whatever, the after image, the thing,
the system,
the thing with the shoulders, like the visual identity of it when it's going into its, that state. I think, there's a lot they can still do. In fact, it almost seems like, do you think they could increase cost again by the end of the year or next year?
So if they're gonna retain 750 and they're gonna put the F91 and crossbones in 750, you could see 800s being Victory, and then some units if we get added more AU units, while the 750 could be the Strike Freedom, for an example, right? And the Double O Riser, 800 could be the likes of, let's just say, the Victory 2 with its assault armor, right? The Victory 2 with all of its attachments, should I specify. Could be the Turn A Gundam, could be the Mighty Strike Freedom, the 00 Quanta. You know, we have options to reach beyond 750.
And that is a great point you're bringing up, because what you could do then is almost have it where there's this high cost that's more of just like, oh, here's suits from a bunch of different AUs that are super powerful, and that's like what people would go to play that cost for, because they would be able to jump into different suits that are crazy. And then there's still the options, hey, I want to keep it UC or keep it light, you could do that. So yeah, I think for the potential for GBO2, like again, I stopped playing last year because I've played so much, like between PS4, PS5, and not as much as you, but for someone like me, I've played so much that I got burnt out, but it is creeping back in. And you can't forget, like, you have to admit how amazing it is that these developers are constantly tweaking it, updating it, and adding new stuff that I didn't expect. So, like, I would say it's worth even starting in 2025, because if you start in 2025, there's still so much coming that you'll have a whole lot that you've invested into and then can use in the future. So
because let's remember, we haven't touched all of Advance of Zeta, we haven't touched all of mobiles with variations, we haven't touched everything. There's no way that you can touch everything you see, and if AU gets added, you're gonna have content for the next decade. So we're gonna be here.
Okay, good point. Let's kind of end it here with, what is a suit that should have already been out that they haven't released yet?
A suit that should have been out.
I wonder if there's something in early UC that they just haven't, that, you know, since you have an encyclopedic knowledge of a bunch of suits, I don't know if there's one that they haven't released yet that you're like, why isn't this?
They only released the Bugu from Gundam The Origins. The Origins has incredible mobile suit designs.
Oh,
we don't have anything beyond the Bugu. We should get more of the Origins, just because they actually look cool. Imagine a Granddaddy Gundam, the RX-78-2, walking up to you with very high-powered Vulcans, a remodeled beam rifle, and double beam sabers.
That's a good point, because that would be then different than the standard one that's already in the game. It's another way to get an RX-78-2, but with different stuff on it. Thinking of Origin in general.
Or the SARS Zaku too, that we have multiple SARS suits, but we actually never got the SARS Zaku 2, actually, I just realized.
That's right. I think that's something you mentioned to me before, so that is actually interesting. So, yeah, I wonder if there would be, and I think they do this already, but more of those ace or hero suits.
We've been getting a bit more, like we got SARS Zigok and just not long ago, so hopefully we might get a few more ace units.
Okay, well, cool. Well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and end it here, but Talos, thanks for joining so we could talk about this, because I'm getting the bug to get back into GBO2, and with the updates they're coming out with, I think it's worth it. So, you know, thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I have the link to your channel down below. If you want to get more GBO2 information, like constantly, way more detail than I get into, check out Talos' channel, link below. But yeah, until next time, thanks a lot, Talos.